Hello, Liz Wood here. We're about to take a look at shared files versus shared drives. So, a shared file or a shared folder is a folder that one individual person owns, but adds other people to either view or to edit, basically to collaborate. A shared drive, on the other hand, is a Google Drive that is owned by a group of people or an organization. We might do this at a building level for a team or PLC. And the benefit of this is that ownership applies to everyone within that drive. So let's say you retire or leave your district at the end of the year, or one of your team members does. Their ownership over a file won't impact if you can access it or not. Because once a person leaves and their account is shut down, those files disappear if it's in their personal drive and they just happen to share something with you. So let's just take a look at what this looks like, how to share files versus drives, and really think about when it's appropriate to do one or the other. So I'm going to show you an example of a shared folder that I have. This is my folder for the Binghamton City School District. And this is my personal folder. I've got folders for each of my buildings, notes for myself, shortcuts, but there's one folder in here called Tech Tips. Now, I chose to do this because it is shared with teachers across multiple buildings. I know that it's shared because it's got a little person on the folder, and that person tells me that I shared it. Now, this is shared in shared drives for my buildings, as well as different folders, because people access things in different ways. And these tech tips are unique to me and the work that I'm doing with my buildings. So it makes sense for me to have ownership and then to share it with everyone. If I wanted to share another folder, for example, my professional development folder, I would right click on it, click share, and now I can add people's names. So I can type in, let's say, for example, I want to share with Casey. I can type in Casey's name and change her sharing settings to just be a viewer or a commenter, or if I want her to have full access, I can make her an editor. This makes sense if it's my material that I just want her to take a look at, but I need to retain ownership over it. You can also change your sharing settings. So right now, only people who are specifically added can look at this folder. I can change it to anyone within my organization or anyone with the link. So some things you want restricted. So for example, student information, especially when it comes to IEPs or 504s, any confidential data, important to keep it restricted. If it's something that you want to publish to the web or that you want multiple people to have access to, like a curriculum calendar, anyone with the link should at least be able to look at it if that's your intention behind sharing. You can also, if you have a file, there's a share button, and you can add them from there as well if you already have the file open. So those are shared files or shared folders. Now, under my drive, I have shared drives. And if you look, I have shared drives for different buildings, different grade levels. My Google driver's license shared drive that Casey and I work in is here. Click through BOCES is here. So this way, everyone within these shared drives can be set to be owners. They can be set to collaborate. And if Casey or I leave BOCES, all of these resources will stay within the shared drive, and we're not dependent on each other for keeping the files active. If you are a manager or an owner of a shared drive, you can click on Manage Members and you can change their access level. So you can create a shared drive, but if you only want people to be able to look at your materials, you can make them viewers or just commenters. You can make them contributors so they can add or edit files. But because Casey and I are both managers, we can manage all of the content, all of the people, and all of the settings. We have full access, just like it was a personal drive. So to create a new drive, all you have to do is right click on Share Drives and you can create it. So I'm going to call this Test Shared Drive. Manage members, and now I can add people. If I'm added to a shared drive, so let's say, for example, my Plick shared drive, I am not the owner. I have a different view because I cannot manage the people or the content. BOCES just added me as someone that can edit files because I don't need to be a manager. I don't need those sharing permissions. So those are a couple of different things to think about when you're setting up a shared drive. Now, back to the conversation of, do I share a file or do I share a drive? It really comes down to the ownership and your intention. So it's kind of like backwards design when we're planning lessons or setting goals for ourselves. What's your desired outcome? Do you just want quick feedback on something? Is it a one and done, hey, please come look at this, and then that person no longer needs to contribute? Or are you trying to collaborate with your grade level team or your building, and you want everyone to have access, whether just to view or to edit, whether or not you're still with the organization? So those are just some things to think about. There's not much to do within Google Drive for practice for this topic. If you want to take a look at sharing a file with someone, absolutely go for it. But really, my intent for you is to consider your options and what's going to work best for you with your content and your desired outcomes. So, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and thanks for watching.